I'm joined by my brother Keenan, and once again, Kamden Dennis. Kamden, Keenan, what's up, fellas?
I'm here. I'm kind of sad. Obviously, the season ended on a thriller, but not the way I wanted it to go. I was hoping it for get to a game 6, but I'm okay. Got a lot of thoughts. I got a tongue load for the pod today. How's it going, Cam?
I'm doing pretty good. I was expecting
Pause.
some more games, really. Even though I predicted that the Nuggets would win, I was like predicting, and I wanted another game. Sad to see the finals over,
Yeah.
but it's cool to see Jokic get one. It's cool to see Jokic get
Absolutely.
one. So I'm doing all right. I'm doing all
Yeah.
right.
That's a long. That's like the complete opposite of how you opened the playoffs when we did our playoff prediction. You were like, "I'm hoping to see him go home in the second round."
I know it is
Now you're
cool.
happy to see it.
Yes,
It's cool.
complete
It's cool.
turnaround.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Kyle. So we're gonna get right into the game. Kamden, I'm gonna have you start because I'm gonna need the floor for
Yeah.
a couple. Kamden, you start, and then Kyle, you can go, or
For
me,
sure.
whatever.
Watching that game yesterday, it had a lot of intensity, and I had the feeling of like the the refs wanted the Heat to win. They wanted them to keep this going. I really did feel that way, and the Heat just came up short. They came up
Yes,
short.
they
I
did.
feel like the refs were like on their team. These dudes were dogging. They were pushing these Nuggets around, dude, and it was a wild game to watch. It was fun to watch though.
Yeah,
And the greatness of Jokic and Murray, that two-man game is
Mhm.
phenomenal. It's some of the funnest things I've seen in the last 5 years. Jokic is crazy. That man does not know how to party or how to interview at all. I will admit that, dude. That man,
his interview post game was so
I was
wild.
just
It's like,
whack.
when is the
I
parade?
don't want to
Uh,
go. I'm not going. Like what?
I just want to
Yeah.
go home.
Like the man just won the NBA championship, and he's got that on his mind. But um,
Everybody just gets the same
yep.
handshake as if it's game
I've also
64.
never
I was
seen that
like,
before, where they win a championship and he went through the whole line. He even went to other Jokic, and he
nope,
just went through the whole line. The whole thing was crazy.
nope, never seen it. Normally, it's a meeting in the middle
Uh-huh.
of like I gotta
And
go
then
sift out
surrounded.
like LeBron would always go find Steph and
Yep.
Dre and Clay, and you'd see it there. Not like a good
Yep. I'm
game,
gonna go to all
good game,
15.
2, 4,
That
6,
was like an
8.
NBA 2K.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
That was like
exactly.
an NBA 2K championship
Straight up.
celebration.
And you
is
know
what?
what?
It was.
2K probably validated themselves. Like, you know what? We did it right.
Right way.
We know how to do it now. It took till 2023 to figure out how to
Yep.
actually. Yeah, we
Yep.
got him.
I'll say that I love Bam's game. Bam's game really, really, he played well. I would say it's tough for me. I'm a toss up of like what's going on with Jimmy's ankle, but why was he so passive and not aggressive in ways that I wanted him to be in a lot of the ways. I was hoping for a round one Jimmy Butler, a round two Jimmy Butler getting in the 20s, a round three just really playing against the Celtics, getting those really big dubs and hitting big shots. And I did not see that aggressive Butler like I wanted to. So that's my overall take of the whole game. Congrats to Jokic, congrats to Murray, congrats to that whole team. Aaron Gordon's a baller. He's legit. And yeah, I love the whole thing. Love the whole thing.
All right, Kyle, what do you think?
I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. You said you needed the floor. Let's
Well,
let's
yeah,
give you
that's
the
why I
floor.
wanted to give you your
You
thoughts
want Camden to
too.
go first? Let's hear it.
God,
I want to.
so
I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll respond.
so going through the game, sitting down, enjoying it like the rest of us. I'm enjoying it. I'm seeing first play of the game, Bam Adebayo, tip, steal, dunk. Obviously, they go up 5-0. Then the Nuggets go back on a run. The Nuggets seize control, and then the Heat obviously come back. At that first time where the Nuggets seize control, I was like, okay, Tyler Hero, we might see him here insert for offense, but Spoelstra stuck to his rotation, and it proved to work out well in the first half. They got up 7. Second half, when the Nuggets made their run again, that's when I probably would have inserted Hero. I thought he shouldn't have been a DNP. Coach's decision this game. I thought there was definitely points, especially later in the game. I know I would have tried to throw him in at the end of like a first half where obviously things can change, but it shouldn't be too pivotal, to try to get him a little bit of legs, a couple shots, run a couple sets for him just to get him in some sort of small rhythm. So if you did put him in the second half, he's not just cold coming in out of nowhere after not playing for 2 months. But I don't hate the decision. That's just kind of where I would have leaned towards because I felt you needed that offensive punch. Bam played great. Kyle Lowry played very well. He played great veteran basketball. Strus made some plays here and there. Caleb Martin played pretty well. Kevin Love was but it was okay. I hated every second Cody Zeller was on the floor because they attacked him like no tomorrow. Gabe Vincent had I saw him in the third quarter. I lost him the first 2 quarters, couldn't find him. I wasn't sure if he was at a dispensary in Colorado. And then the fourth quarter, he didn't need to see the floor because we had Kyle Lowry in. That's cool. Duncan Robinson was solid. I thought he should have played more than 16 minutes. And then we get to 6 callers ahead of us, Jimmy. Jimmy, I understand if you're really that hurt, then I guess sit. Like, during this game, we talked obviously before how, like, offensively throughout the later series, he was questionable at times. He was more passive. But he was giving effort defensively, and I'm not saying he wasn't giving effort, but he was giving effort defensively. But offensively, you still felt him. Like the offense was running through him to some capacity. I have no idea where he went. I don't know where he was. I don't know what Jimmy Butler was for 43 of the 48 minutes of the game. It was It was bordering on, and I mean, Kyle said this as well at 10:31 last night. It was bordering on LeBron Mavs, is what it was bordering on. He was a no-show. He was not aggressive. He was 8 points, 2 of 11 from the floor. His shot, he was nervous. It looked like, not like nervous, but he looked like he just didn't either trust his body or the moment was quote-unquote too big, but it's not that. So I guess it must be this. He must be way more hurt than we're giving it credit for. And if that's the case, then I guess don't play him as heavy minutes, because what the Jimmy Butler that they need to win needs to be A+ Jimmy Butler. In this entire series, he was a C+. And so, and this is also another thing, if you're grading him as a superstar, I don't think you need to like vilify him or anything like that, but I definitely think that you need to get blamed for your lack of play throughout that entire series, and especially in Game 5. He woke up at the end. You could tell on his jumper shots, other than those late 2 threes, he didn't have lift. Like every time it was just set shots. And watching the entire game, I was so frustrated because you had the role players playing as well as they were going to play. I thought that the recipe for Game 5 was Bam and Jimmy are going to have 35. I was talking about 55 combined. Like Jimmy was going to go for 30, Bam 20-ish. And then Game 6 was going to be a role player style game. And then Game 7, you see who steps up in a Game 7. That is just a chaotic mess. But this felt like Game 7. That atmosphere was wild. Not that the Nuggets played desperate. The whole game was played completely rough. There was a play in the backcourt where Nikola Jokic and Bam pretty much were fighting, and then they fell on the ground. And the refs just looked at them and then ran away. Where in the NBA, obviously in the regular season, that could have been even a double tech, because they love to throw out double techs like no tomorrow. Like that's the favorite thing for NBA refs to do. But Jimmy, if we're going to call him a superstar or going to put him in that class, he's got to get talked about like that, which means he's got to get blamed like a superstar does as well. That's my thought. I've been thinking about how to talk about this, and yesterday I would have been over the top unnecessary. Today, after thinking about it, listening, and just going through my head how it was, he must have been more injured than I thought, and he just had a bad game too. And on that stage, he needs to be better. He just needs to be better. I'm going to be done there. It's sick.
A lot of emotions.
It's just
a lot
sick.
of emotions I see.
It's just sick.
I mean, look, first of all, I've been in this since about, 11:30 last night. I've been in this, like, little depression, like there's no NBA. I'll have the UFC the rest of the summer, which is a blessing, but, like, I have nothing on the daily now, what I mean?
WNBA.
I'm actually considering getting into more WNBA this summer.
You should.
Like, I wish
I'd agree.
I've mentioned this before. I wish they had like a 40-game season rather than like a 28 games. Isn't there game? It's like 28 games, and then they got like best of 3 series. I wish they would, take that league a little more serious as far as like extending the games in the playoff series.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like the popularity is growing. To the NBA Finals, though. Last night was such a great game. You mentioned how much of a Game 7 feel it had, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It was a finals elimination game, so you were going to have that desperation from Miami, but, Denver matched that desperation, which you don't always see. They clearly did not want to go back to Miami, which shows you the respect they have for the Miami Heat.
Especially in the second half.
And there's a bunch of stats I heard today, like I think that was one of Denver's worst offensive games of the season, and it was just flat out, like, out of all the games in the postseason, it was the most inefficient game a team had won, period, all season. So the level of inefficiency they played with, I guess 89 times out of 90, that's a loss, and Denver comes away with the win. I think through the third quarter, they only had 2 made threes at one point.
They were 1 of 17 before Michael Porter Jr.
It was just
hit
an
that
ugly
big one.
game.
It was.
Exactly. It was an ugly game. You usually, whenever someone's missing that many threes, if a team's missing that many threes, usually that team loses. I all just came back to, like, man, Bam played an amazing game, played an amazing series. Kyle Lowry was probably their best offensive option last night. He made some huge shots for them. Strus was playing out of his mind on not just the offensive side, but as far as, like, playmaking, as far as hustle, as far as rebounds. Got a couple blocks. I couldn't agree more with Cam when he said the Heat had the refs on their side. Like, there were some plays where they were just clearly hacking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forget who it was. It was late in the game. When it really got hectic, and there was someone going up for a dunk. Might have been Aaron Gordon, and they, like, raked him across the wrist, and they didn't call it.
Oh, yeah, it was Aaron
There was
Gordon.
another play, I believe. Aaron Gordon had a wide-open dunk. He had a wide-open dunk, and Kyle Lowry, like, kind of barged into his back, and he missed the dunk. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, how much more of a foul is that? And they just let it go. Like, they let a lot of shit go as far as the Miami Heat is concerned. And it all kind of falls back to, Keenan, like what you said, man. Like, if Jimmy just shows up a little bit more, they probably win that game. Or if anybody gives them offense, I'm not so sure about throwing Tyler Hero into the hecticness that was that game, because that game was hectic all the way through. I don't know if you can take someone who was injured in game 1 of the playoffs and put him in literally the last game of the playoffs and, expect him to match that intensity with not having, conditioning and stuff like that. But, I do agree with you. If you're going to throw him in at the end of the half, at the end of the quarter, see what he's got, get him a shot here or there, whatever. But, clearly the Heat held it down enough to where they were in that game up until the last, 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
15 seconds is when Jimmy threw up that last shot. I didn't really like that shot selection.
Boy, didn't
Clearly
even
he was
mention the last
hurt.
minute.
I know before he made those 2 threes there at the end, he had a spot up out of the right or
Left corner.
He had a spot
no
up,
lift.
and he had absolutely no lift. And I'm like, man, like, he really must be hurt. Like, maybe that's why. And then he had this sudden burst where he was getting his own shot. He looked aggressive, and I'm like, okay, clearly he's saving it for this moment. Like, I get it, and he Part of it, he did look like LeBron in 2011 where he was very passive. We saw that with that turnover where he just kind of got stuck in the middle of the lane and threw it away. So I don't know. I feel two ways about it. You can't not play him. You know what I mean?
You've got to play him down the stretch. It wasn't like
he was a no-show on defense.
You got to play him down the stretch, of course.
And he had a bad series. And you know what? He had, I believe, 28 one of the games, like a couple games ago, and he had 25 and one. You know what I mean?
He had
And
26 in game 3.
the other games were ugly. It happens. He had a bad series. I've seen a lot of Celtics fans like gloating about it, and it was disgusting because Celtics fans cannot talk shit after what our playoffs have been like. If you want to throw me in there, but the way they were gloating about Jimmy Butler and his failures, it's like, how the fuck are you gonna gloat about that
weak ass team beat us?
You just can't. Like, we would.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
finals.
even worse.
It's
like,
so much worse.
Hey, look how bad they're doing. We lost to that team and we were down 3-0.
If they won the whole thing.
Exactly. It's lose. Right? It's just loser shit on that end. And like I said, I think it's a new generation of Celtics fans, but I was like almost throwing up in my mouth reading some of the shit I was reading from Celtics fans last night about it. Because guess what? They were like, oh, they did all that to lose in the finals. Ask any Sixers fan on this earth if they would take the Miami Heat season this year, and every one of them would say including the finals loss. They would absolutely take it. But yeah, I was all that to say, yes, I was somewhat disappointed in Jimmy. He's been around long enough. We've seen him play long enough to where you'd say, okay, something's going on there for him to not be that aggressive. All the shit he was talking to Grant, all the shit he was talking to Drew Holiday and the Knicks, all that leading up to this, like, okay. And credit to him, he did not make any excuses after the game. He didn't blame it on the ankle, whatever. Very interested to see what happens with the Heat moving forward. All props to the Nuggets.
100%.
Big props to Michael Porter Jr. I thought he really held it down.
Huge game
for the Nuggets last night.
Huge
Jokic
game.
Jokic played a good game. Murray was on and off the last 2 games, but overall, stayed pretty aggressive.
Christian Brown was a huge role player.
But it sucks just because, that game was right there. Absolutely.
Christian.
Say Chris Brown.
Christian, I hope.
Even if you said Chris Brown. Oh, Chris. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about it. I always forget.
His name's spelled
looks like it's pronounced Braun.
Yep.
Saw you from across the room.
But yeah, man, I'm upset that it's we have no more basketball to talk about. Obviously, we'll be talking about basketball summer, et cetera, but we have no current games. Again, props to Bam. But again, that was the game. If there was any game for the Heat to win last night, it was on a silver platter for them. They didn't pull it through. But guess what? Also credit to the Nuggets because they were just as tight as the Heat. Like that had some feelings of it as like the 2016 Game 7.
That's what it reminded me of.
Just how tight
That's
it got.
Exactly what it reminded me of was that 2016.
It was very much like that.
Jimmy played like Steph.
It was very much like that last night. And yeah, a bit. And you know what? It happens.
It does.
There's going to be some overreaction, and maybe there's not. I don't really know what the national media looks like today. I just saw really Celtics fans being disgusting towards Jimmy Butler. And not even disgusting.
I haven't heard much overreaction about it.
That's neither here nor there.
I've heard more so. Richard Jefferson said because statistically in the playoffs, Jokic was like a mixture of
like
Steph Curry, Kevin Durant,
Magic, he said, and Tim Duncan.
Magic, Tim Duncan, and LeBron. So, like, he's just a mixture of all of the...
I mean...
And I get it, because his stats were great. I know you said he had... One thing I wanted to point out real quick. You said he had a good game, and, like, this is the standard we hold Jokic to at this point. He had a good game. He was 12 of 16, had 28, 16, and 4. And it wasn't even, like, an outstanding Jokic performance, which just shows you how phenomenal he is as a basketball player. And one quick thing before you go again, Kyle, was the Jimmy... turnover was terrible, and the reason why that made me so mad was, again, he went to the lane passive. If he has 6'3" Jamal Murray on him, if he goes to the lane, does a spin move and throws up a floater, even if he misses it, they get the rebound 29-ish seconds roughly, because by the time he passed it and turned it over, and then like they would have had it probably 29 to 27 seconds. They didn't need to foul because Kyle Lowry didn't need to foul because he fouled with 24 seconds. You miss it, you play defense, and then you get another crack at it. Just don't allow a three, and you still get in the same position. So I think he just should have gone up with it. You could, especially how you were talking with the refs. He probably gets a foul call there if
no doubt
if he gets bumped too much. So I would have gone up with.
It was really.
I hated that.
That whole last 2 minutes were really weird.
Yes.
We mentioned the refs. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Jimmy Butler fading in the corner. No foul. Clearly no foul.
Let me say
review.
Why. I know why
it's
they did
clear
that.
It's clear that he still didn't get fouled.
I think the reason they did that is because even though there was a challenge, they wouldn't know who to give the ball to at that point. Because the whistle was blown, and they would have to go jump ball. But I think they were worried about that and what would be talked about after the fact of, that was the wrong call. They should have done a jump, should have been the Heat ball, should have been Nuggets ball because they called the challenge. I think that's the only reason why, because it was so clearly not a foul that it blew my mind. They went and reviewed it. No, nothing.
It was
Yeah.
It was inept either way. It was inept either way. I don't know what they were. I don't know why. Whatever. I was kind of rolling with it though because I'm like, hey, I want to see a game 6, but that's terrible. And then what got me after, he goes to the rim. He goes to the rim the very next play. I believe he makes it, and I think he got fouled at the rim, and they didn't call it. I'm like, that was a clearer foul than what happened before. And then he has that turnover late, which was an all-time bad turnover. And then what got me was they got the ball back down 3. He jacks up a 3. They're like hunting for a 3, which you just don't usually see.
24 seconds.
And if Jimmy goes to the rim there, they probably don't foul him.
Or if they do, it's an and one.
Yeah, they inbounded with 24. Yeah. And, I mean, hey, we say all that, but then again, would any of us have picked them to make it this far at game 1? No. You know what I mean? They were a play-in team. So credit to them to make it that far.
Absolutely. And credit to the
I'm
Nuggets for
disappointed. I really do feel like there should be a game 6 for tomorrow. Or for Thursday actually it would be. But, last thing I really want to say, you mentioned like the standard we hold Jokic to. First of all, hilarious when he was giving out the good games. Again, we'll bring that up. He wanted no part. Only thing I'll push back on, Cam, Jokic is Balkan. He definitely knows how to party. Him and his brothers definitely probably know how to party.
Off screen.
I did see on
Serbian
Twitter
style,
that they had a post. They had a post game party at Aaron Gordon's warehouse. Apparently, that went to the wee hours of the morning. They said I can only imagine. The only video I really saw, I usually see a lot of videos. I only saw a video of Jokic throwing Jamal Murray into the pool, and all I could think of was like, what if Jokic accidentally like landed on top of him and he breaks his leg and he misses next season? Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Yes.
But last thing with Jokic, you mentioned RJ with the greats and all that, but he averaged straight up, he averaged a triple-double for the playoffs. And everyone's kind of talking about it ho-hum. Like, imagine if that was LeBron. Imagine if that was Steph Curry. Imagine if that was Kobe Bryant. Imagine if
how
that
many
was,
games
any of the stars that like get true like fanfare.
And if that's only
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Cam.
And I was going to say, with averaging the triple-double and the win percentage he had in this playoffs was unreal.
16-4.
He lost 4 games.
They lost 4 games. That's crazy.
Unheard of.
80%.
With the efficiency that he was shooting on and just playmaking and everything, it's wild to me how quiet the media is on this. It really is. It really is.
I mean, the last person.
This is a lot like how it was when.
You go.
Sorry, Keenan. It was a lot like how it was when Tim Duncan was in his hay, because they would do a lot of winning. Actually, that's all they did was win. Like, whether it was regular season or postseason, that's all they would do is win. And you know what? I'll say this. I think people for the most part, media for the most part, recognize Tim. Like, they wouldn't give him the love maybe of a Shaq, right? But they would, for the most part, be like, okay, what Tim Duncan's doing is all-time great. It was more so the fans who wouldn't give him his credit. This one, it feels like all around Jokic is underplayed. Like, nobody even started talking about Jokic and gave him his love until after that Suns series.
ESPN's
You know
been
what I
giving
mean?
him his
So,
love as of late. The Fox hasn't been giving him as much. Like Fox gives him his credit, but ESPN's been, at least over the last like couple weeks, because it's on at work. Because we just have TV, so I see it like when I'm at work. ESPN's been giving him definite credit, that I can say. Finally, but like they have been.
God
now.
bless. Vegas apparently won the Stanley Cup, by the way.
Oh, good for them.
So shouts to
They
Vegas.
beat the Florida Panthers. Miami is in shambles. They had two teams. They had two teams as 8 seeds because the Panthers happen to be an 8 seed as well. And over the last 3 weeks, we've been talking hockey more than ever, and it's been like
Wait, the Panthers are out of Miami?
yeah, Florida Panthers, and
The
they're
Florida
like
Panthers play in Miami.
they're the Florida Panthers. They play
Miami is an
close
NHL
to
team.
Miami. Like I can't think of exactly the like location, but they're really close to Miami. And then obviously the Heat. So it would have been actually dope for Miami if the Florida Panthers as an 8 seed won it all, and then Miami as an 8 seed won it all. Like it would have been pandemonium. Yeah.
Yeah, they play in the Miami Metropolitan. That's crazy.
Yep.
Last thing I want to say, because I know Cam has a take, the last thing I want to say is what's crazy about Denver and what's kind of scary is this is a well-constructed team that's all built around Jokic, obviously, but they don't even have, like, the best team around them yet. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't even got, like, when that second Cleveland term with LeBron, even that first one, but, like, every kind of LeBron team that succeeded, they surround him with shooters. Like, imagine if Jokic gets, like, a Seth Curry or someone like that to really dish it to, and, you know, that's what Jamal Murray has to work off of. Like, if they get a knockdown shooter, which MPJ is, like, MPJ's a pretty knockdown shooter himself, but if they get another one who, like, you know, MPJ's got some off the bounce to his game, if they get someone like Seth or just someone who can just straight up shoot that thing, like, they're going to be a problem. And then on top of that, like, more defensive specialists, like, we've seen, I think this takes Aaron Gordon's career to a different
It absolutely
trajectory.
does.
Like, I think he'll be an all-defense type of dude. He has Sean Marion potential to me.
That's a really good comparison.
You know, just that versatile defender who can guard wings and bigs. He can get out and run. He's obviously a high flyer. Yeah, I think it takes his career to a completely different trajectory. And then MPJ, as we see, like he already had All-Star in his future, but I think that happens even sooner because of all this.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued by the Nuggets' future.
And
Cam, I want to hear your take, though. And Keenan's got a list.
No, I got a
too.
list. I just have a
So,
quick
Go
point,
ahead,
Kamden, because
respond.
your take, I kind of got a little glimpse of it. It's actually going to be like a conversation. 2 years from now could happen because we're talking about the Nuggets possibly building, like they could possibly go on a dynastic run because they're set up for it, especially financially, because they don't really have a lot of high salary guys on the books. You have Jokic, you have Murray, but then they have a lot of pieces around him. 2 years from now, if he takes a pay cut, someone like Klay Thompson, depending on where he is, if Klay leaves Golden State, imagine Klay in that like, Klay got easy threes, but like goodness great, like that could be. That's something that obviously it may not happen because obviously
Literally
Klay's
just have to sit in the corner.
Yeah, you really all he'd have to do because Klay's obviously an LA guy, so he could go to the Lakers. He possibly could stay with the Warriors, or he could go somewhere else. But if he sees the Nuggets, say they won this year, say they lose next year, but then possibly like the next year after that they're like there, he could.
Yeah.
But Kamden, you go with your take now.
Real quick, I think it's a fun idea. What team would be better? The Kevin Durant Warriors or Steph on this Nuggets team? I think that's a fun question. I think that would be.
I think
That's
I think it's the Durant Warriors just because of the size.
I don't know. I think Steph on this team would be unreal. But
Well, yeah, absolutely. It would be the two-man game between Steph and
would be
Jokic.
phenomenal.
Jamal's good, but like Steph
would make that unreal.
Well, because you'd have like you could like two-man game. They do it at like the 3-point line. You can now do it from 35.
I know. It would be unreal.
You would be able to do it from 35.
It would be unreal.
It'd be
seeing
crazy.
that happen. I would love to see that. But
Yeah.
this is how my question kind of poses: is with this championship from Jokic, he solidified himself as, to me, a top 6 center of all time, and 6 to 8, somewhere around there. You know, I would say
Yeah.
8 probably 8. He's really really good, and
I'll answer that after.
and with that in mind, his all time compared to certain players in the league right now, that to me, Jokic has just won one as his being the best player on his team, whereas somebody like Kevin Durant,
Yep.
who has been dominant in the league for a very long time, has never won one on his own as the main guy. And my question is,
Yep.
did Jokic just surpass Kevin Durant by getting a ring in this series? Cause I don't,
Kyle,
you're
Kyle,
laughing at me.
That was very
Kyle, you
ESPN,
go.
but I love it.
Yeah.
I kind of
Kyle,
love
you
it.
go. You go.
No, I'm laughing because it sounded like straight out of sounded straight out of Molly Karam's mouth is what that sounded like.
Welcome to First
But-
Take on a Tuesday.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm envious of it, honestly. I'll be honest. I try not to do a lot of the where does homeboy
Sure.
rank, where is he surpass this player. But the Durant one, that's a great question. That's a very well constructed question because you could make that argument completely. You could make that argument. That's a great argument. Has he surpassed Durant? Hard to say. Durant's got such a resume. Jokic is definitely rising. The only thing I'll say about Jokic that I know for sure is that, was he in the top 75 last year? I can't even remember.
He had
must have
to
been.
have because he would have had his 2
He
rings.
mu- if
I mean, not his
Lillard
two-
was in
his
it, he
2
must have been.
I'll look.
MVPs.
I'm looking up right now.
All right. Oh, even whether he did or he didn't, I think he's automatically top 50. Like, I don't think that's crazy to say. Some people might even say top 40. Maybe he's a top 40 hit. But I think he's definitely in that range with 2 MVPs, a triple double for the playoffs, and the best player on a championship team. He's definitely in the elite of the elite. If you want to say the top 50%, or the top 50 players, I should say. So. That much I can say. I don't know about the top 10 centers. He's probably definitely in the top 10 centers, period, with his resume. Maybe even and Embiid. Embiid might be up there too. I don't know. But I like the Durant argument. I'm interested to hear what Keenan has to say. That's a well-constructed argument, though. I'm jealous of it. I'm jealous of it.
So,
Keenan, what you got? Is he on the top 75?
so it doesn't actually look. It looks like he's not, from what I saw, he's not a member of the top 75 because I think they
Wow.
did that after just his first MVP,
Okay.
so he hadn't won his second one yet.
It's true.
And so,
That
he
is
just
true.
was coming
That's
off.
true.
So it was just
That's
a
true.
first MVP. He made 1 conference finals. So obviously, if they were to redo it now, he's clearly in the top 75. We know that. So is he better than Kevin Durant?
Dwight still got snubbed off that.
Yeah. So did Dwight Howard, in my opinion, but that's another conversation for another day. So is he better?
That's what I just said.
What is that? What you said? Sorry. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, said Dwight.
Sorry.
Dwight got snubbed.
Sorry. So, anyways.
Nah, no worries.
Anyways. Yeah. Is he better than Durant all time? I'm just gonna say no, just because it's a very interesting argument. You got 2 MVPs to 1 MVP. I think Durant's MVP was better than both of Jokic's. I have that obviously in my list over the top MVPs since the merger, if that matters. If whose MVP was better, in my opinion, Durant's was better. You've got Durant, who is right now a 10-time All-NBA performer. When you have Jokic at 5, obviously he hasn't been in the league as long, so you'll see. I just think that let his career play out a little bit more. I do think when it's all said and done, he will be, unless Durant does something about it soon. But he is on very much pace for it.
I mean, it's hard to say. Durant's top 15.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, if we're having the
probably his top
conversation
15,
now,
top
I
20
don't think that Jokic is gonna this is gonna be his only championship. So it's hard to say. I would say that I think I think that Jokic can definitely pass Durant, because I think at this moment in time, I think Giannis has is right there with Durant too. I think both of them probably by the end of their career will end up passing. But, I mean, that's obviously projection. We don't know how it's going to play out. We don't know. Durant could go win a championship next year, change the entire narrative. So we don't know. I'm not gonna predict. I'm just saying, if you had to lie detector me, what my thoughts would be. As a top 10 center goes, he's easily there. I like his position at 8. It's probably a conversation between him and David Robinson because no order really, but you have Kareem, you have Shaq, you have Hakeem, you have Moses Malone, and then
Wilt.
you get into kind
Bill Russell.
you have Wilt, you have Bill Russell. So there's 6, and then you've got David Robinson, Jokic,
Patty Ewing.
Patrick Ewing. You can, like Kyle said, you could probably start to throw Embiid's name roughly
Dwight,
around there
Bill
too.
Walton.
So
Don't forget about that, man.
Dwight, Bill. Yeah, I was gonna say Bill Walton's unfortunate career got short, but so definitely, I think he would be around 8. I think it's a conversation with David Robinson right now, but those 6 that I named ahead of him are definitely ahead of him. But yeah, so that's my answer. Is not yet with Durant, but I think personally, if I had to say, it's coming and top 8 center of all time.
I agree with that. I love it.
Okay.
So
the list that I had.
I have a lot of thoughts about Durant.
Go on.
Hold up. I just want to say I have a lot, and I might have brought this up before, or I don't know if I was talking with Keenan one time, but I definitely have some Durant thoughts I'll bring up on a hypothetical podcast later this summer, because I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of this, almost like barbershop talk kind of basketball, like who'd you rather kind of thing.
Of course.
Durant is fascinating to me. He's just, I've never seen anybody like him with his talent who is like so comfortable, just like, yeah, sure, I'll play with Devin Booker, Westbrook, Curry, Clay, and Draymond. You know what I mean?
Kyrie.
And it's so like defensive of it because you know what? He's Kyrie. He's such a basketball purist, and I look at it all like, and maybe it's unfair to LeBron. I think LeBron started this whole shit, truly. But you know, him being a basketball purist, you'd be like, it would be like being at the park, and you got a group of 20 guys. 25 guys playing ball 5-on-5, and this team just being like 6-0, right? Like they're running it. You stay on, you're king of the court, and then, you know, all of a sudden being like, you know what? Take our worst player. We're gonna take the best player off Team C, in that case being Kevin Durant, and you come join the 6-0 team. Like that just ruins it for everybody, and that's what he did in that 73-9 season. And you know, he's never really recovered from it from a fan perspective. As far as the mass media, he gets a lot of hate, but you know, still a fan of his game and all that. But
he hurt himself going to New York.
Cam's absolutely right. He's never.
He hurt himself going to Brooklyn, teaming up with Kyrie and Harden.
And he hurt himself going to Brooklyn.
Listen, I'm gonna say right now.
And had he just won one there, like, you know, it's just he's just got such a weird legacy. He's gonna be such a tricky one down the line. And we'll talk about that another day because I got. You know, and you got a list. Cam got his take. I've got something I want to say about star structure in the league.
Sure.
This would be a good way to piggyback off of this. But also, quick thing about Durant. The same thing I thought we've talked about it before, Kyle. The same thing I think about LeBron. If LeBron would have just either stayed in Cleveland or stayed in Miami for the rest of his career, pretty much, I think he would be viewed a little bit different. I think if obviously Durant. But his 2 Finals MVPs doesn't get as much slander as he did get, but people still think it's a very weak move to go there. But again, if they would have won 5 championships, for say, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. If they would have won like 4 or 5 championships with Kevin Durant, I think you just get over it and you're like, okay, well, he's a 5-time champion at this point. What are you really going to say to him? So
yeah, if you're gonna lean into it and try to be the '60s Celtics is what they should.
Yeah, like just make be like the best
fickle
dynasty.
About
yeah,
like lean all the way into it. But he got fickle about it being Curry's team. Like, what the fuck do you expect?
Yes.
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that can be an hour pod on its own.
About legacies and shit like that.
That can be an hour pod on its own, just about Kevin Durant. But so I was obviously we're talking Jokic. And like where his rank is all time, and I'll say obviously he's pretty much solidified himself as the best player in the league. If someone said Giannis, I get it. Some people might say Steph, whatever, but like Jokic is pretty much the definitive like best player in the league as of right now. Jamal Murray, where his rank in the league is, because this was a really good postseason for him. Jimmy Butler obviously has gone up and down through this, so I went through and put together the top 32 players in the league, and I tiered them, put them in certain categories. So I'm gonna go from 32 to 1, and stop me whenever you guys want to stop me. So, a category called budding stars, on the cusp of being stars, around flirting around that, would be 32 Pascal Siakam, 31 Tyrese Halliburton, 30 Domantas Sabonis. Then next, I've got complementary stars. 29 Darius Garland, 28 Bam Adebayo, 27 James Harden, 26 Jaylen Brown. Then I go to the next group.
I would put Sabonis ahead of a couple of those guys.
I would agree with that.
You would?
I think Sabonis proved himself a lot this year.
I'd probably put...
He did, but his playoff run to me left a lot to be
Sabonis
desired. To be honest with you, that's what brought him down to me. I get it. It's one of those things where the playoffs matter to me.
Yeah,
more.
but you can put him on. You can put Sabonis on any team though, and he's gonna make them better, which he did with the Kings.
Yeah, so
I can't say the same about Jaylen Brown, and I can't say the same about James Harden's kind of tough right now. Who else did you have? Who was that?
Darius Garland and Bam.
Bam was there. Yeah, Bam's about
after this playoffs run.
You could talk me into Bam and Sabonis ahead of
today.
Jaylen.
Yeah.
You could talk Bam
I
and
think being a big
Sabonis.
is a huge
I get it,
thing
but
right
I
now.
think. See, Jaylen. I think Jaylen has a lot.
One thing I know for sure about Sabonis.
Yep.
Sorry, one thing I know for sure about Sabonis, you put him on any team, they're gonna get better. That I can say.
I think
with
Jaylen, when you
confidence.
put him on any team, it gets better too.
Bam, that's probably true. He doesn't make his teammates better though. That much we've seen. I can completely attest to that. He's not going to make his teammates better. Sabonis is going to make his teammates better.
That's fair. And if you putting him into a complimentary star, I'd be fine with that too. The lower ones are kind of a little bit trickier, but Sabonis was a iffy one for me. I wanted to put him there, but you could talk me into moving him up to that complimentary star level. And where to place him, yeah. But the complimentary stars I have at 29 Garland, 28 Bam, 27 Harden, 26 Jaylen Brown. Then I have the next category is true star. Obviously there's a difference to me between a complimentary guy and then he's a true star in the league. And those are Karl-Anthony Towns at 25, Kyrie 24, Trae Young 23, Jalen Brunson 22, Drew Holiday 21, and Shea at 20. That's that next room. That's that next store.
Man, look, Towns has the game, but it would be hard for me to even put Towns ahead of Sabonis.
I would take Towns over Sabonis personally.
I'm with Kyle on this one, dude. I'm sorry.
Towns ain't done shit, bro.
Sabonis hasn't either.
Soft, but
Sabonis' playoff run. I don't think you guys remember. It wasn't good. He couldn't make a mid-range jump shot. He was nervous to shoot.
And he can at least dish. He's got other facets to his game. He can rebound.
Towns been here for a while, and he's not doing what he needs to.
If we're talking,
granted, he's in Minnesota.
Exactly. Sabonis been in, I believe, not as long as Towns. If not, they came in around the same time. But yeah, no, I think Towns has a few years on Sabonis. Kyrie and Trae, that's a tough one for me. I think Kyrie is a better all-around player because Trae's very much one way, but Trae probably has more trade value, obviously, if you take everything into account with Kyrie. But you could talk me into having Kyrie ahead of Trae Young. It wouldn't be that crazy. But for sure, I don't know if saying Towns is top 25, that's hard for me to say. Towns ain't done shit. Like Cam said, Towns been around a while, and he ain't done nothing.
I mean, Sabonis has been around 1 year less.
Add into that. He's the number one pick.
It's been around 1 year less. Sabonis, career-wise, is averaging 15 and 10. Towns is averaging 23 and 11.
But I feel like Sabonis was a developing player. He's a developing player.
Yeah, and Sabonis has nothing to show for it. It's not like
he finished top 5 of the MVP this year.
Yeah, but Sabonis ain't come in Sabonis ain't come in as a number one
Yeah.
option or a number one pick, number one option, any of that. Towns had the franchise.
And he's helped
Towns had a lot of
facilitate the best
expectations. More
scoring
expectations
team
than
ever
Sabonis.
in terms of
Yeah, I was gonna
efficiency.
say he hasn't lived up to those expectations, Towns. But like I would take Towns over Sabonis right now. That's personally me. But after watching what happened in the playoffs, I think you guys might be forgetting he was a non-factor the entire
But think
playoff
about
run.
Towns in his playoff runs.
In his first playoffs,
Yeah, and so what I would take would be the more
we've been
talented
seeing
guy.
Towns in the playoffs.
I mean, we'll say this.
I take the more talented
Towns
guy.
is a great shooter, probably a really great big man shooter. So that he's a scorer for sure. But I think he's soft.
No, you're right. You're right.
I'll
Towns
give him
can
that.
be soft for sure, but Sabonis wasn't great.
That's fair.
In the last time we saw
That's
him,
fair.
he wasn't great.
That's fair.
But anyways,
Yep.
that's a little bit again. That's the difference. But the difference between me 30 and 25,
They're close. Yeah.
again, they're close. But again, you could move Sabonis up. To me, it'd just be to the complimentary star. I wouldn't put him in the true star category. And if you wanted to move Karl-Anthony Towns down,
Let me be
I
honest
wouldn't.
with you, Keenan, though. Ready? This might blow your mind. I
Yeah.
might take Bam.
16,
over
11,
Cat.
and 5 ain't.
I might take Bam over Cat. I think I would.
I would absolutely
if
take
you
Bam
said
over
Bam
Cat.
already.
I'm taking Bam over Cat all day.
I wouldn't
absolutely
take Bam over. I would take Bam over Cat maybe as a second option, but I wouldn't draft. I wouldn't draft Bam before I would draft Karl-Anthony Towns if I was just starting a team. You can't tell me that Towns has more
I'll say
offensive
this
game.
as
Towns
a
has
Celtics
more.
fan. If you give me a,
Yeah, but you have Tatum. That's
I'll tell
different.
you this as a Celtics fan. You tell. No. I'm telling you, if you presented to me, hey Kyle, you can get Towns or you can get Bam. I'm taking Bam.
I think I
Any day of
would
the
too.
I would too with
any day of the
Tatum.
week. Yeah,
That's the
Towns
point.
has all kinds of potential.
That's the point. You have
any
Tatum.
Any player. You just give me a blank slate, blank
Bam
slate.
and
even. I'm not even
I would
talking
say
about. I'm talking
Bam
about just
and
a team
Damian
in general.
Lillard.
Give me
I would
Bam.
take Bam. I would take Bam. I think, especially after this run.
I would take Bam as
Bam
a
over
second
Towns all
player
day.
before Towns because he fits more and he can fit into that literally the complementary star. But if I'm taking a guy, I'm taking Towns
Maybe.
before I'm taking Bam.
I'm taking
overall.
Bam.
That is
Yep.
me. He can do more. Bam's
Get Towns
offensive
out.
game can
Get
come
Towns
in and
out
out.
of
It can go in and out. Bam played very well in these
Bam
finals.
got
but Bam's off.
Cat got rear naked choked by Ben Simmons.
I'm just saying, Karl-Anthony Towns is not bad.
I'm not
I
saying
don't remember
Cat's
that.
bad. I'm not saying Cat's bad.
He's not.
He's
He's
not-
not. He's not
Bam
great,
Adebayo
but
in terms of going to the
we've
finals.
seen a lot of
twice.
Cat.
Yeah, but also as I
Let me shoot Sabonis.
yeah.
Let me shoot Sabonis and Bale here. 16, 11, and 5 this postseason. Not bad numbers at all. Not bad numbers. Comparable to Towns' career playoff numbers.
Which are
Towns, who
19 and
lives in the
11.
first round, I want to say.
Which are 19
Exactly
and 11.
16 and 11
Yeah.
with Sabonis.
So me saying that Towns averaging 19 and 11 rather than
bucket.
16 and 11 is better is not a crazy take.
It's not a crazy take.
That's all I'm saying. It's
no, I'm
not
saying that's not great numbers from a number one overall pick who's supposed to be the franchise.
Yeah,
is my
I
point.
understand if you're saying
You
he's
want-
not living up to that,
Towns
sure,
is that
but
offensive
that
dude. You want 25 and 12.
but if it's here and one's here and one's here, that still makes him higher. That's the thing. If he's playing under potential and one's playing over potential or at potential, that doesn't make it just because he's better that way. It depends on where he is, literally. And Karl-Anthony Towns has played better throughout his career
Towns out of
than Sabonis has, in my personal opinion, even if Towns hasn't lived up to that number one overall pick status.
Well, again, I would default to Bam and Sabonis seem to make their teammates better. Towns does not.
Okay?
Jimmy couldn't get out of Minnesota fast enough.
Okay. I think Bam's a better complementary star. I would take Towns if I'm drafting one player or another over Bam. 'Cause
Alrighty,
I think
alrighty.
I think building a team around him would be easier. That's how I base these things. But anyways, that's my true star. we haven't broken the top 20 yet. That's why I love doing these things.
We're not even to 20 yet.
That's why I love doing these things. Towns is at 25, Kyrie 24, Trey 23, Jalen Brunson 22, Drew Holiday 21, Shea 20. That is again that's the true star
like
category. To me, all of them are true stars. Carl,
Who's 22? One more
22
time?
was Jalen Brunson. I think he's better. I would take him over Trae Young.
I would
take
too.
him over
Brunson's
Kyrie
a
right now.
baller. I like him a lot.
I take them both, but I take Drew Holiday a little bit over. But I mean, again, you could switch me
switch
on
those
Brunson
ones, yeah.
and Holiday. Those are
Yeah.
tough. But I think Drew Holiday is underrated. He
Yes.
might be one of the most underrated players in the league, my opinion.
I'm still stuck on Cat.
Okay, well, all right. It's interesting. Obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns, Sabonis, Bam. That's an interesting conversation because those are literally the three bigs in a row. If you were to take just the bigs,
Yep.
that'd be those three bigs in a row. You could argue the placement of them. All right, and then this category is the upper room star. Their next step is partially is superstardom. And that is Jamal Murray at 19, De'Aaron Fox at 18, Paul George 17, Anthony Edwards 16, Donovan Mitchell 15. I think that's the group. You could argue me on the order, and I wouldn't be mad. But that's my group.
My man Ant
upper
should have been
room.
at the beginning of that one. I mean, what I'm saying is right ahead of
You
him.
would you would switch him with
Yeah.
Donovan? Okay, I'm fine. I'd be fine with that. I'm not. Those are not the ones that I need to really. I think that's
Yeah.
the room personally, and I would if you switched them a little bit around, I'm fine.
Love PG, but I think you got to flip him with Jamal Murray.
I'm not mad at it. See, this group is hard for me because like I was thinking to myself like Donovan is the number one, but then the Cavs went out in the first round. He didn't play well now, but he's played great in the past. Anthony Edwards is like right there. He's still young. He's still got a lot of potential to grow. Paul George is just solidified. So it's kind of where he is. De'Aaron Fox had a great season. He's up and coming. And then obviously we just saw Jamal Murray going up a great playoff run. So like that group, where you put it, interesting to me. But I think that would be my upper room star like room. Like if you open the door, all five of them are in it.
I'll say this about Jamal Murray and Jalen Brunson together.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guards around him that you've mentioned that have more talent
Yes.
than both
Yep.
of them. But when it's postseason time, those
Yep.
are two players.
Same
I
with
want
Drew.
on my team.
I would agree with that with
More
all
than-
those guys.
Like Kyrie has more talent than Drew.
More than maybe even a Donovan Mitchell.
You know, you could argue me on that. I think that if you're obviously, you could argue.
I love me.
Yep.
I love me some Drew Holiday, but I wish I would have seen more with those, Giannis-less games. I think Drew Holiday could have gave me more.
Yep.
If you're a Bucks fan.
Yep.
But in general, I love Drew Holiday's game, but my stock's a little down on him after these playoffs, but not too much.
Okay,
Not too much,
that's
but-
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell, though. Donovan Mitchell, I don't know if we can put Donovan Mitchell ahead of Jamal Murray because he got his team, he got what he wanted. They were favored to win against the Knicks.
And he didn't
Yeah.
play
I
well,
believe
so
they had
that's
home court against the Knicks.
that's
And
fair.
he didn't play well, so I don't think you can put Donovan Mitchell ahead of Jamal Murray.
That's fair, but
And debatable if you can put him ahead of
debatable
if you can put him ahead of Jalen Brunson.
That's fair
Yeah.
because obviously Brunson did beat him head to head. So if you wanted to say that, but again, I'm not gonna always kill somebody for one bad series. So I was gonna
That's
say
fair,
that's kind of where you have to go.
But
Like,
I do think those were two. I do think those were two even teams, and I think Cleveland's a more talented team than New York. And it wasn't like they shut him down. Like he played bad. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I was gonna say I've
and I
seen
just think
Donovan do it in the
that's
past,
one more
though,
than
which is
any
kind
other.
of what made it just more like this is a bad series rather than this is who he is.
True.
That's kind of where I was with it. But
I
again,
think this
you
one
could,
it was.
you could argue it.
I think this one all things were even, and like Cleveland Knicks was about as even as a series as we could get. Cleveland having more talent, blah blah blah, and Brunson was the better player. A, B, I would have to have Jamal Murray ahead of him just by default. Just after winning a ring, his consistency we saw for 4 rounds. Also interested, we're up to 15 now. No Julius Randle in the top 30.
No.
Oh,
Did I
yep,
miss
that's
that?
something I'm thinking too. What about my man
No Julius
Bi,
Randle.
dude? Brandon
Wrote it.
Ingram, no top 30.
B.I. See, on the budding stars list, I only put 3 because I only did 32. I could have made that 40, and you could have had I have a lot of names here that didn't make it because I wrote down like
Middleton.
55 names. Like you have obviously Zion, wherever you have him, he was a DNP for me. Like he doesn't play enough to even get discussed. Like DeMar DeRozan's great. You have Bradley Beal's obviously a great player. You have Mikal Bridges, depending on how he develops next year. He showed a lot in Brooklyn. Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, LaMelo. Obviously, you just have to get him in a winning situation and him healthy to see what he can really do. But we saw as a rookie, he was great. You said Julius Randle is another one. There's a lot of people right there. I had to cut. I cut it at 32 because. So that's why I cut it at 32. That's why they're not mentioned, but I don't think they're top 30. I wouldn't take Randall over Siakam, Halliburton, or Sabonis, and those are my bottom three.
Sure.
But, yeah, and I could agree with the Jamal Murray if you switched him with Donovan after the run. I just wasn't killing Donovan for this playoff series because I've seen him do it in the past before. I watched him go head-to-head with Jamal. Obviously, him and Jamal went back and forth in the bubble. He has had some Utah game, but he's always shown up. So I didn't kill him for that, but you switch him with Jamal after that playoff run, I'm not mad at it. So that was my upper room star list. So we're at 15. And then this next one is called Superstar Name with Second Star Game. And what that means is superstars in the league that I believe that are really good, but I don't. They could be the best player in a series on a championship team, but I don't think they could be the full best player throughout the entirety of the playoffs on a championship team. And one of the guys is very iffy. But John Morant's at 14, Devin Booker's at 13. This is the iffy one because he was literally 3 games away, but Jimmy Butler's at 12. His was like, could I put him there? Yes, no. And then I have Dame at 11, and I have Anthony Davis at 10. That is the group.
I'm moving Anthony Davis back, and also I think I love Devin Booker, and I think he is somebody that, sure, he didn't get it. He hasn't gone to the finals in 2 years, but that man, he could be a 1. Devin Booker's a 1. He's a 1. To me. That dude's a bucket.
Right now,
I think Book's underrated.
Wait, who's underrated?
I think Book's pretty low. I think Book's pretty low on your list.
He's
your
good
list right now. 13. I would have to have Booker ahead of at least Anthony Davis. I would have to hear the rest of the list of the top 9 now.
Yeah, we're at the 10. Top. That was 10.
That's tough.
But
that's tough. Dame too. You could talk me into Dame being 10. Anthony Davis is not on the court enough.
And Anthony Davis is prime, sure.
I was doing healthy.
I was
doing healthy and still on the court. That's kind of why he's there. If you're adding things like that, I would take Kyrie down more, honestly, if I'm going to be honest.
Which Anthony Davis is
because Kyrie pisses me off.
He's a phenomenal defender, Anthony Davis is, and he's a great player, but he really hasn't showed us enough for me to be like, he's better than Book, he led a team to the finals. And even though they lost, Booker in this playoffs had the craziest run I've ever seen, I think, for a few games in a row where he was just scoring.
Don't get me started on his last 3 elimination games.
Sure.
I need him to show up in an elimination game before I can talk to him again. Bad taste in my mouth. I'm just leaving it at that. He's averaging like 14 on like 28% shooting over his last 3, getting blown out by 30 plus in his last 2 at home, with Luka laughing in his face and the Nuggets just waltzing by him.
The Nuggets waltz by everybody.
I'll give them
completely get it though. Like Devin Booker's great, and his conversations real. It's a really small margins between these players. It's not like they're gaps. But go on, Kyle.
Two things. Two things. The one, I'll shoot Booker bail and Durant bail on the blowout with the Nuggets only because their team was pretty decimated. That's it. Otherwise, in general, they should be able to at least keep that to 15 if you're going to get blown out. So I get what you're saying there. AD, here's what I'll say about AD. In general, he's phenomenal. Like, when healthy, I would love AD on my team, of course. But let's go, 4 seasons ago was his last one on New Orleans? Am I correct with that? 4 seasons?
5, I
Sounds
think,
about right.
now, because it'd be after 2020
told-
was the bubble. So I think 2020, 2021, 22,
Right, so
23,
2019
5 years
was
ago.
his last
Yeah.
one. So about 4 seasons. So, sure. So, my thing is, if you go back to that season, if you just asked me at the end of that season, hey, Kyle, given where Anthony Davis is right now, where do you think he'll be offensively in 4 seasons? He's regressed since then. He has definitely regressed. I would have said, yeah, he's probably would have developed a 3-point shot. His handle's already pretty good. His mid-range shot's not even reliable anymore. Like, it's pretty good, but he used to be pretty knocked down.
Yeah.
So it would be tough for me to have him ahead of Book, ahead of Dame, especially Dame. Like, you can count on Dame.
Yep.
Dame's going to show up, and Dame's going to be, I was going to say Dame's going to be healthy, but he's had his health issues over the past couple of years as well. But, yeah, the way Dame's elevated his game to, almost Steph Curry light, it would be hard for me to keep him out of the
It's
top
hard.
10, especially behind AD. But,
It's the
and
defensive
Booker,
prowess of AD.
I would have
when
thought Booker was a shoo-in for your top 10.
Devin Booker? No. Or I was going to say Devin Booker
Yeah.
for me, no. It's really the defensive prowess of Anthony Davis
Which
that
is
gets
huge.
me there. Because, he, in all playoffs, he was best defender in the league, easy. He's, that disruptive. The Warriors just didn't shoot layups against them when they were getting to the, they were getting to the basket at will against the Kings. They just didn't shoot layups because Anthony Davis was looming. It's that, and the offensive game, as it does come and go, he does have a lot of offensive skills. You're right, Kyle. I believe he has regressed, and I think that's
As you
more of
said,
a
it comes and
mindset than
goes.
it is. I think that it's a mindset more than it is
I
an
thought it was a
actual,
mindset for a long time
play.
too, but it's been too long. That dude's regressed legitimately.
And that's a fair argument. It's hard for me. It's always hard when I don't see a player play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I just haven't seen Lillard in the playoffs in 3 years.
Yep.
And he lost in the. I mean, the last time we saw him really was the bubble. I think he might have made the playoffs after that, and they lost in the first round. I think that was first round, possibly.
They lost in round 2 in the bubble.
No, I'm saying after the bubble. I think he may have lost in the first round, if I remember.
I don't remember.
The bubble is the last
Yeah.
mental memory I have of him in the playoffs, and they lost in 5 to the Lakers. And then before that, they got swept by the Warriors. They played him close, but Lillard in those games, Steph just showed he was better than Lillard. Obviously, we know that. But my 14's Ja, my 13's Devin Booker, 12's Jimmy Butler.
32, 7, and 5, though.
This year, yeah, absolutely.
32, 7, and 5 from Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was going to say, Anthony Davis had a great year as well if you're going just off stats. I mean, we saw that stretch where he was playing best player in the league basketball. He has that capability of doing that kind of stuff, which is where I was going to say, he was 26, 12 and a half on 56% shooting. So he had a great season himself. But anyways, again,
Did you say best player in the league?
he was playing the best player in the league potential. He's not the best player in the league, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, during that stretch, if you remember,
I do remember that
he
stretch,
was
yeah.
literally
Like 40
he was
and
unreal.
yeah, he was playing well for a while.
He was unreal in that stretch. It was oh my God, this is what we thought, because this is the conversation. Is it not Jokic? Is it Giannis or is it AD? That was a conversation 4 years back. After
You're talking about a postseason or regular season stretch?
regular season.
Because
His regular season stretch, it was in November, December area.
Time out.
It was November, December area after
I just wanna be
LeBron was
clear
injured.
here. I just want to be clear here. So you're taking that regular season stretch over Book's postseason success, where he was putting up about 35?
Yeah,
About a
I
month
mean,
ago.
I'm not just taking.
65%.
It's not just the regular season. Anthony Davis did play very well in these postseasons.
He did.
There were games offensively he faded. Yes, I understand that, but He was 23-14 with 3 blocks and a steal. He was easily the best defender on the court every night. And then offensively, yes, I understand that it was, to me, a lack of aggression, because the games he was aggressive, he was great. But I understand with Devin Booker, you don't have to worry about his offensive aggression, but I would start a team with Anthony Davis over Devin Booker, injuries aside. If you're trying to tell me injury-wise you're going there, 100%. 100% we get Booker. 100% I get Booker, if you're talking injury too.
Yeah, well, you do got to factor in injuries, though. That's the thing. But
right now, in this list, I'm not because, again, if I was factoring it in, Kyrie Irving, I'm taking more people over Kyrie Irving. I don't trust sabbatical Kyrie to play games. So that's me, because I just have a personal vendetta against Kyrie. But okay, so now we get
10.
to
number 9.
we get to the top 9 right now, and this group to me is superstars with something to prove. And 9 is Joel Embiid, 8 is Kawhi Leonard, 7 is Jason Tatum, 6 is Luka Doncic, and 5 is Kevin Durant.
I'm excited.
What, Kyle? What are you laughing about?
I don't know about Kawhi ahead of Embiid.
I agree with that.
If healthy Kawhi over healthy Embiid, absolutely. Kawhi, you were talking about at the end of the year, he was playing better than anybody.
Well,
I'm telling you, health is not involved. If them saying
right,
but if health isn't, what?
But Embiid was the league MVP.
I know he was the league MVP. We also saw him drop 15 in Game 7 against Boston. It was a no-show.
That's why I'm okay with it. Because of that
game. The last
game.
time we saw Embiid, you said he literally gave up.
I agree,
and he didn't show up. This is Kawhi Leonard. He's a
I agree with that.
two-time champion. He led the Raptors to a champion. He's not fallen off from that level. He just hasn't been healthy enough. But every time he's healthy at that level, I'm taking a healthy Kawhi over a healthy Embiid any day. I just don't know how you don't
factor health.
No, this is just because this is just who's better than who is what my list is. Like, it's not like this isn't exactly like me. If I'm building the future team and how I'm doing this, this is just at their best, who is better than who.
Now, I have a question.
That's what this list is.
I want to make sure.
Yes.
I did not hear.
I've probably taken Embiid over Tatum, to be honest.
Okay, I'm not doing that.
I wouldn't take Embiid over Tatum.
But
he dropped 51 on Embiid's head in Game 7. I'm not taking Tatum.
But guess what? If we're talking health, Embiid wasn't healthy in those playoffs either. What are we talking about?
What do you mean?
He got hurt.
Kyle, you can't have it both ways. He didn't either show up to play at all, or he was unhealthy. Like one or the other.
No, I agree.
Don't care
he didn't
what
show
it is.
up. I know he didn't show up, but I'm saying Embiid at his healthiest versus Tatum.
I'm taking Tatum.
It's kind of a different animal.
I'm taking Tatum.
Tatum's a great
can
defender
any
too.
shot he wants, but
I'm taking Tatum.
Hands down.
I really am.
He is. I'm not doubting it, but Embiid at his best though is some crazy stat lines. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sure.
It is some crazy stat lines, and Tatum at his best is the most points in a Game 7 ever.
And I would kind of go back and forth on it between Tatum and Embiid. Like, it's an argument I could really have. And, yeah, Tatum, again, Embiid rolled the fuck over. But, I don't know. I think that's a genuine argument. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
It is an argument. I mean, there's 7 and 9 with Kawhi in the sense.
Yeah.
As I said, the Kawhi and Tatum, I mean, just Kawhi splitting them. And, obviously, if you want to take health-wise Kawhi out, it really would just be Tatum and Embiid right next to each other. So if you say that, then that's fine. But then I have Luka 6 and KD 5, and that's superstars with something to prove.
This is what's crazy to me.
That is my...
For your list here, my favorite player of all time I thought would be in that part of the list, LeBron James. Is he on your list or not on your list?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not done.
I wanted to make sure.
I'm not done.
I would have put LeBron James in there, and even though Luka did not do what he needed to this year,
You can't miss the play-in, and for me to have
that
credit
team
for you right
is
now,
trash,
you can't
dude. That
Yeah,
team
but
is trash.
his team tanked on purpose. His team tanked on purpose.
That team is
They
trash.
openly benched him when he wanted to make
Yes.
the playoffs.
Yeah, in
So
the
you can't
last
blame that on Luka.
last two games because
blame
they
that on
were
Luka at
so
all.
bad before. You can't. They got to a point when they were tanking on
Yeah,
purpose.
but that's not
Unless
on
you're
Not
gonna-
Luka's fault. They traded a lot of his
I
depth.
agree with that.
They traded
They
his
shouldn't have got
depth for
Kyrie.
Can't be-
Kyrie. You
I
can't
I
blame
won't
not-
blame
Luka.
him for the Kyrie match.
I'm
And
not
Luka
doing
was
it.
trying to get in.
That was a bad trade.
I think I've also talked about Luka needing to change his play style a little bit. I think Luka is great. Again, he is to me a top 6 player in the league. That is
Sure.
not saying like it's bad. He's not
I'm
bad.
just
He's
saying
sitting
that-
right next
I'm
to
just
Kevin
saying
Durant.
that today, I would take Luka over LeBron James. I would.
I probably would.
If I'm
too, yeah.
taking one season,
probably would.
no. If I'm going obviously future, duh.
Even
because
this
like it's
season,
Luka
though,
and he's,
LeBron at this peak, whatever it was right now, to Luka, Luka on
he
the
dropped 40, 10, and 9 in a game 5 against the last game we
Sure.
saw was 40, 10, and
they
9.
lost and he
as
scored
we're
9
talking
points
injury,
in the second half.
no. If we're talking injury, LeBron hasn't been healthy since January, February.
Sure.
If we're going to say the same thing about Embiid, we're going to say the same thing about Jimmy, the same thing about these other people, we should mention that LeBron did
I'm
that.
not doing the injury thing, but I get that. I get that.
No, I'm just saying.
Which is why-
Kyle mentioned the
Yes.
injury. We're going to mention it. That's LeBron too.
Yep, that's fair.
LeBron's in that conversation
That's
as
fair.
well.
LeBron would be a little bit lower on my list.
Hey, I love
He wouldn't
LeBron.
be in
Don't
the
get me
top
wrong.
5. He'd be in the 8,
Don't get me wrong.
10 to 8, 10 to 7
I would
range.
switch wherever your Braun is to where and put Luke at 6 and switch that. But that's just me.
See, me personally, I was thinking about it, and if I need a game, if I need to sit, I'm taking LeBron.
All right.
And this is just a testament to how great
is,
he
it
is.
is.
Like he showed, like.
He's an amazing player.
But
yes.
okay, and then the upper room for superstars is LeBron at 4, Giannis 3, Steph 2, Jokic 1. If you want to switch Giannis and Steph, whatever. I don't even need to
Yep.
argue it. You can just do it if you want to. If not, you're not. It's fine. Doesn't matter to me. But that is my.
Yeah, I'd have to switch KD with LeBron. I'd have to have KD in that 4 spot.
See, I would put Jokic
That's-
there. I'm not Jokic, sorry. Not Jokic. Luka.
Luka.
I'd put Luka there. For me.
That's just where.
And you could talk me into him. You could talk me into Embiid, even though Embiid played a terrible
Come
game 7.
on.
Cumulatively, hey man. Cumulatively over the last 3 years, Embiid's been putting up numbers. Did he show up in that game 7? No, he was pathetic in that game 7.
But that's not just the
Absolutely
first
pathetic.
postseason.
But
He's had some bad. He's had some bad
He's
postseason
been around
moments.
for a while, too.
he's had some bad postseasons. He's also hardly been healthy in those postseasons. I think he broke his face one year. He had a back injury one year. Like hardly for any of these postseasons has he
But
been.
that I also
completely
him
healthy.
getting hurt.
But shouldn't
Which
that?
again,
I mean,
that
you
might
were
be a
talking
reason why
about
you
your
put him at
injury
9.
point.
That could be a
So
reason.
that I mean,
Oh, that's what I just said. That could be a reason why you put him at 9. But also, like as far as consistency, all the way through, he's been a bit more consistent than even Durant. He's been on the court more than Durant, so it's just hard.
And
It's a
I
lot
would
of
say
nuance
about
with these
him,
lists. I'm
that
just kind of
dude
talking
hurts
out loud.
himself.
It's kind of hard for me to put Braun at 4, though.
Embiid hurts
and
himself.
that's fine. I understand.
True,
He falls on his own.
And I understand that LeBron being there it can be tough. I get that.
But it's two spots.
For me.
Yeah.
He's coming off 29, 8, and 7 in the regular season, and then the last time we saw him in the postseason was 40, 10, and 9. I know he scored 9 in the second half, but I'm just saying LeBron to me still showed that he is there
Yes.
in that conversation, which is crazy. And literally by December of next season, Father
I think
Time
he
could
had
have
a-
just hit him, and he could just fall.
I think he had a B minus. I think he had a B minus postseason though. I don't even think he played that well. You know what I mean? I think his team played pretty well.
He was a really good
And
facilitator
that's
and leader of that team, though.
don't
He
think
was
Bron
he was the leader of that team. They played well because Braun was there.
He was.
yeah.
He was the leader.
They
Absolutely.
wouldn't have beat.
And
Yeah.
He was the leader. Absolutely. And
No,
if
and
anything, I'm impressed with. I'm
Yeah,
impressed
go
with his defense this postseason more than anything. Offensively, I think that was
Yeah, he
you know,
could have played better
not even in
offensively. You're right,
Bron's
and it was
top
still 25, 10,
15
and
postseasons.
7.
37 years old.
It was still 20. It was still 25,
Yep.
10, and 7, playing very good defense, and we're saying it's a B- performance,
I
which
wouldn't
is
give that a
almost
B
making my
minus.
point.
Yes, it would. That makes.
And
yeah.
it's almost making my point of why he's still there.
In real look in. I'll say this in real time. We were meeting a lot through these playoffs. Ain't none of us talk about how great LeBron was. All of us were saying how LeBron was playing okay, how AD was stepping up, and how the team was really.
No,
stepping
I
up, how
was
Reeves
upset at
stepping up,
AD
how,
most of the time.
Hachimura was stepping up.
Yes, yeah. I was a person that also said this was their
That's
best.
true. That's
his
true.
best
But, I
team
mean,
ever.
we-
So, in terms of all role players,
I said LeBron still can
true.
push that
Yeah, that's
button.
True. But I'm saying we weren't top.
I
I would just have him in the seventh.
Yeah.
I just
That's all.
said that
But
quote
I'm not mad
unquote
at it. I'm not
after
mad at
Game
it.
6, but against the Warriors. I'm just saying you were right. LeBron,
But
there was
nah,
at times where LeBron looked a little bit more passive than you expected LeBron to be in the playoffs.
hurt.
But you're right, he was
hurt.
hurt, but he still was putting up great number. He put up Larry Bird's career averages in the postseason hurt.
yeah.
In the regular season, he was still 29, 8, and 7. Like I'm sorry, he's there for
That's
me.
fair.
I understand if you move him down to 7, you want to put Luka and Kevin Durant ahead of him and have him in that Tatum, Embiid, Kawhi class. More power to you. I'm fine with it, but that's personally me there and how I have it.
All I'm saying is,
So-
literally, I would move a one spot. I'd put Luka in that, and then I'd put LeBron this way, and I'd kick KD back one. That's what I would do.
That's fair. If you want LeBron 5, KD 6, Luka 4.
I was all ready
don't
for
hate
the
it.
NFL. Now I'm ready for the next NBA season to see how all
Yep.
this plays out.
And see, I was just saying, these things, obviously with lists like this, they change drastically because I wouldn't have had this list exactly how it was 2 months. I mean, I didn't have this list exactly how it was 2.5 months ago when I had it. Jamal Murray, I don't know if he's at that 19 spot 2.5 months ago. He might have been lower, and besides, you're right, he could be even up to the almost 15 spot, and I wouldn't have any problem with it. That's just how I have it now. After conversation with you guys brought up some good points. Maybe I do tweak it and put him up a little bit higher. It's
I like your list.
I'm not- this
It's your
wasn't like-
list, man.
well, of course, no, but like you guys bring up
a good list.
you guys bring
It's a
up
good
good
list.
points, and like you think things that you might not have thought about because obviously we have different brains, different perspectives. Where you're like, you know what, maybe Donovan Mitchell could be taking a peg back because of his little misfortunes, but I was also not weighing that as heavy as some other people
Yeah.
have. So, but that is my list, 32 to
Love
1.
it.
I'll probably make a graphic for it and post it so I don't have to read 32 to 1 through,
Yep.
and you can just see it all at one because obviously we're having a lot of dialogue with it. But yeah, that's that. I know Kyle said he had something to run by us, so if we want to jump into that, we can. We spend
it's-
more time arguing about Karl-Anthony
It goes
Towns
off
and
exactly. No, it goes off exactly what your list is. Because I was thinking to myself last night, because people say people throw around the word superstar a lot, when they're in regards to the NFL, the NBA, and especially in the NBA when they're, they were talking last night a lot about Jimmy Butler being a superstar.
Yeah, and that's what
And
started
I'm like,
this
look,
too.
Jimmy's a star.
That's what started this.
Truly, there's only 3 real. If we're talking about the definition to me of superstar players, I think a lot of those guys you mentioned, Keenan, in the top 15 are all franchise players,
Yes.
right? From Anthony Edwards to a Steph, to a Luka, to a
even
Durant,
De'Aaron Fox.
all those guys,
Yeah.
Dame, those guys are all De'Aaron Fox, yeah, he's probably a franchise
He's
guy.
borderlining on that, yeah.
Superstar to me, if you're like, who do I know for a fact is a superstar in this league right now and is a superstar period, all things accounted, it's LeBron, it's Steph, it's KD, and after that I'm not really sure.
Jokic.
Maybe Giannis. No. Here's the thing, though.
Oh, you're
Here's
talking
the thing.
marketable too?
I'm not talking about just game.
Okay.
I'm talking about superstardom, yeah. Because Jokic, to me, that's not like all of our moms probably, or our parents, I should say, do not know who Nikola Jokic is.
Same with Tim
Right.
Duncan,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
We go talk to what's
I was
up?
gonna say same kind of thing with
Yeah,
Tim Duncan.
and even Tim Duncan, he had a couple commercials here
yeah,
and there.
but I'm just saying same kind of thing
Yeah.
where he was like
And
Kobe and Shaq
he's got
were the
superstar
superstars,
game.
but like Timmy was that next level. Like he was just as good as
Exactly.
them. Don't get me wrong. You could argue he's better than both of them. I do think he's better than both of them career wise, but he wasn't as Kobe's a face. Like our mom knows Kobe.
Yep.
Our mom doesn't know Tim Duncan other than we had an autograph from him. But
Right.
go on.
So yeah, no, that's exactly what I mean. Like
Facts.
Iverson, Kobe, Steph, LeBron. If we're talking just today, like maybe Giannis is in that group. Ja's for sure in that group. Like Ja sells out. His sneakers are selling out. Like regardless of anything right now. You know what I
Got
mean?
the blicky in it.
Luka's probably up there because he's got the yeah, right. Luka, he's got the international stardom too, so he might be on that level. I don't really know. But if we're talking like true superstars, the way like
Well, you got to put Tatum in
know,
that list.
like
then.
a Michael Jackson
Tatum-
and
No.
Usher is.
Tatum's real popular.
Yeah, Tatum's pretty popular too, but I think he's
Yes.
especially in New England. But I don't know if he has that reach the way even like I mean LeBron and Steph are two different levels for sure, but
He's
I don't
quiet.
know if Tatum Tatum resonates the same way as Ja. Ja's sneakers be selling. Ja's game we see all the time. Zion would be on that list too if he actually fucking played. He's too
not
busy
play.
getting porn stars pregnant. That's a conversation for another day.
Shea.
I can give you.
So like yeah, Jimmy, like not many people.
Go on. Sorry.
Shea's a star. No, I just
It is.
think it's a short list for true like superstars.
If you're going that
like,
kind of-
obviously take into account the games, then yes, Jokic is a superstar. You could argue Tatum, you could argue Embiid, you could argue Kawhi. Kawhi's another one who quietly like people he's a household name. So like it's just that way. I think there's a difference between superstars and franchise players. Durant, like I said earlier, he's definitely on that list. His shoes sell, his merch sells. People know who Kevin Durant is. So yeah, that's basically my thing because it's hard to say Jimmy Butler's a superstar because superstars to me are like Mike, Kobe,
That's fair.
LeBron, Iverson, Shaq.
So if you want to go like
there's something to
if you want
that.
to go
There's
top
something to
10
that.
notice or like I'm just saying like this is gonna freestyle. If you want to go like the most notable NBA players, if you want to say I'm just off a superstar, like where you look at him like, oh man, I know who that is. Because I think I would have 14 superstars in the league right now, and then go from Ja to Jokic, that list that I had. I think Jimmy Butler's in that conversation. I think his postseason runs have put him there, but that's a play-wise. I mean, if I'm going through this list right now, Steph, LeBron, KD, Luka, I would probably put Dame there. I think Dame's a very big name. I think so I'd have Dame there. I would have Ja there. He's in the media right now for the wrong reasons, but before that, he was on Dunkaroos. He had his shoes, like a lot of like he was. That's why it's so sad. Not sad, but like why it's so frustrating for me right now. What's going on because like he literally could be the face of the league with how
Straight up
much of a
could be.
superstar he is. Like Jokic, I don't think could ever be the face of the league.
And he still
Yeah,
might
he
be.
still might be. But like as I say, I don't think Jokic could ever be the face of the league, even though he could be the best player for another
Yeah.
half decade. So like that's my personal opinion. So I'd have that.
He'll always be
He'll be part
He'll
of the
always be
league.
in the Tim Duncan zone, and that's how
Yeah,
he
he-
wants it. Same
yeah.
with like another way about it. And what's weird about Jokic is he's a flashy-ish player, and I've heard a lot of people call him boring and not flashy,
he's
but he throws
flashy.
more no looks and crazy passes
Yeah.
than anybody, you know. So I've never understood that with him.
Same thing with like Bird. If people didn't call Bird,
just going
flashy,
through
like,
some light
he has a lot of
research.
Bird into him. What was that?
Yeah, Bird is Bird. Bird's crazy. I just did some light research.
Yeah.
So I looked up Dame and Ja each have 9.8 Instagram followers.
Yeah.
Pretty good number.
Yeah.
Would have expected higher, especially for Dame. Kevin Durant's at 13.3, so that's not much more than those two. I would have expected him to be maybe even in the 20s. I believe I've looked at LeBron's before. LeBron's like got an
Yeah.
insane amount, so he's
Nope.
not even like So
LeBron
let me
is
see.
the superstar.
Let me see where Giannis is at.
Like it's Mike and then Kobe and like
Giannis has got 15 point.
yeah.
Giannis has got 15.2. So he's ahead of Durant.
Yeah, I should-
That makes sense
Giannis-
right now.
Giannis
Giannis is
would be
a
Actually,
personality.
Giannis actually he's
superstar too.
he actually has been because he's been in commercials and things. So and people really like Giannis because like a lot of like obviously parents like humble people.
Giannis got
and
more than Iverson.
And Giannis has been very humble. Like his post game pressers, people feel like really connect with. So let me go through this again real quick. Steph, Giannis, LeBron, KD, Luka. I would personally put Dame and Ja there. That's 7. Paul George is bordering. I think Paul George is a decently household name. I think his shoes help him out there. So I'd have him there. That's 8. Kyrie's definitely 1, regardless. He's a polarizing superstar, so that'd be 9. And
Kyrie's definitely
James
better.
Harden is borderline. Like his play makes him not, but like
James
his
Harden's up
status makes him. And then another one, an 11, I'd probably put Trae Young. I think Trae Young, his shoes, I think he's right on that borderline where he could possibly be in that conversation because he does have some decent shoes. We sell some at Dick's. And he
I looked
obviously
up-
with the whole Knicks run, him bowing, like that playoff run kind of helped him become where some of the young people will mention him. So I would say those 11 are be the people in the conversation. If you want to throw Kawhi in there, just because he was gonna be the king of LA, it's cool.
So, I was doing research as you mentioned those names. As I mentioned, Dame and Ja each had 9.8. Paul George, I was surprised by this, has a clean 10. He's right at 10, so he's above Ja and Dame. You mentioned Trae Young. He's the lowest out of all of them. He's at 5, so apparently he does not resonate in that manner. Let me look at Tatum right now. Tatum's at 6.3. That's not bad. Harden's at 11 mil, so he's ahead of Paul George. I would have expected a little more. Kyrie's at 19.
Wow. Yeah.
So he's got even more than Durant.
That makes sense.
It makes sense.
Kyrie's got a lot. I haven't looked up LeBron. I think LeBron's probably got over like 100.
You look up LeBron, I'll look up Steph.
Yeah, 155 million for Bron. He's got 155 million.
Steph has
And
got
Steph's
52.4.
52.4. So yeah. So those two are miles away, and then Luka's got 8.3. So he's in the Dame range and rising. So yeah, and then I looked up Shaq just for like shits and giggles, and he's at 30 million as a retired player.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes with like I was thinking like out of MJ's era, right? Hakeem's probably the second best player out of that era. And the most recognizable face out of that era, aside from Jordan, is definitely Charles Barkley, So
Yes.
it's interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, it really is interesting out of that. Even though, like, if you were ranking are you putting after that, you'd probably rank Barkley top 5 in that area. You'd have to, because you'd go Mike, you'd go Hakeem,
Sure.
go probably Karl Malone, just because he did have. But again, you could argue between Malone and Barkley. He's probably around 3-4. I would put him right there, unless there might be someone I'm forgetting.
Yeah, Malone's definitely on
But
there.
no, I'm just saying I wasn't sure if I'd put him before or after Barkley.
You could argue.
That'd be the conversation. And then if you want to count David Robinson,
They'd
probably be
probably-
5. I think, if I may be.
Yeah, you could even argue Shaq. from that
If you
era.
want to put
Stockton.
Shaq,
Shaq,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
You could make arguments a bunch
Absolutely.
of
If you want
ways.
to put Shaq in that era too, then I would put him.
You could argue a bunch of ways.
That was interesting to.
We
talk-
should probably cap it
Yeah,
here.
for sure. But that was interesting. I didn't think about like that kind of superstar.
That's
but
cool.
I would for sure say, but like if you're just no doubt ones for me is just like LeBron and Steph, and then probably say Kevin Durant too. But like LeBron and Steph just have
Then
like,
everybody
Yeah.
else.
like 75% of the face of the league is LeBron and 25 is Steph. If you want to, or like even at this point maybe like 60-40.
Yep.
Just because how much Steph resonates. But obviously, LeBron's still the guy. He has been. But Steph has taken like half of that face. It's like it's crazy though. That was good.
Cam's been yawning for like
He
the
has
last, like,
been. He took a
25
nap. He
minutes.
took a
Took a
pregame
power
nap
nap.
too.
Thanks for the extra 10
He
minutes.
took a pregame nap too. But yeah, no, this is fun.
Well, look, Cam. By the next time we all talk, you'll be out of school. We might all be in person, so we'll see. I hope to play ball with y'all next week. That would be cool.
How long you up for,
I have not
Cam?
been getting in as many games as I wanted to.
I don't have a definite answer for you, but I'm thinking the 25th to like the 28th to the 30th, somewhere around there.
We could possibly get all three of us together for a pod if that's available.
Yeah, let's keep it in the talks.
Be all in the same spot.
Yeah.
See why we couldn't.
I don't see why we couldn't.
So like I figured that'd be pretty cool to get us all in the same spot. But God, no, this was good. I enjoyed this one. Congratulations to the Nuggets again for winning it all. Jokic, complete congratulations to you, Mike Malone, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, rest of your team, great. Jimmy,
DeAndre Jordan.
Oh yeah, DeAndre, he got minutes. Whoever put the DeAndre Jordan gets minutes in Game 5.
John Williams called it.
He did. John Williams did call that. To the Heat, great season. I'm happy about it. A little bittersweet just because you want the championship, but overall, you were supposed to almost lose to the Bulls in the play-in, and then now you were 3 games away, obviously, from a championship. So definitely great season. Moves they need to for in the offseason. We'll move forward with that. Wemby soon to the Spurs, and then we'll see if Scoot goes to or not. NBA draft next Thursday. We get going there, and then
Miller's
cool
going
summer
too.
league. That first Wemby summer league. Speak of superstar, let him be great in his first year. He might be in that conversation already, the way he's been covered. But anyways, this was the Warner Brothas podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Warner Brothas Podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube, the Warner Brothas Podcast channel. Thank you, Kamden, for being a mainstay guest. Love it. Obviously, Kyle, thank you to you as well. And